My name is Jeff Bennett. I'm a career navigator with Virginia CareerWorks, and I'm the facilitator for Career Essentials here in Virginia. And today we're going to be talking about success in the workplace. We're going to be talking about soft skills and how important soft skills are in the workplace. The first thing that I want to say is that if you're honest with yourself as we go through this workshop, you will receive help from this. This will help you in all of your relationships. Ask yourself during this, what are some areas that I could improve on? And I can almost guarantee you that you'll receive something in this, some little nugget in this presentation that can help you. So these are soft skills. We call it success in the workplace. So the first thing we want to take a look at, jumping right in here, is what exactly are soft skills? Soft skills are personal attributes that enable someone to interact effectively and harmoniously with other people. These are transferable skills. That means you take them anywhere that you go, in any situation that you're in. It'll help in your family life. It'll help you when you're out there in the public, socializing with people. And it definitely will help you in the workplace. These are interpersonal skills, how you relate with people. These are also social skills. So these constitute soft skills, and they're very, very important. I would say that they're much more important even than hard skills. So that's what we're going to take a look at now, is what's the difference between hard skills and soft skills. So hard skills are skills that can easily be measured. Some examples of hard skills would be computer programming, welding, nursing. Hard skills apply to specific occupations. So in many, many occupations, you may need the hard skill of learning some computer skills. Believe me, I've had to do that myself with many of the jobs that I've had. And so if you're technologically challenged like I am, it's going to take a little bit more for you to develop this skill, but you need it, so you work hard at it. Now, once you develop that hard skill, that becomes a transferable skill, because you can take that to many other jobs, and many, many jobs that are available out there. Many employment opportunities and employers are requiring people to have skills in computer programming, or at least a basic knowledge of computers. And so those are valuable hard skills to have, but they can become transferable. Now, soft skills, they're much more flexible, and they can be applied to numerous occasions or occupations. And I would say almost every occupation. I would even say every occupation. Soft skills are much more flexible. They can be applied to them. It takes much more effort and creativity to demonstrate these abilities. And sometimes you have to restrain yourself. Sometimes you have to work hard at coming across in a really good and positive way. All right, so jumping right in, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about today in this particular workshop. We're going to be focusing on 10 different top soft skills that are needed in the workplace and needed for obtaining and retaining employment. So we're going to talk about communication, and I'm going to camp out on communication a little bit. We're going to talk about teamwork, adaptability, problem solving, creativity, work ethic, interpersonal skills, time management, leadership, and attention to detail. And so I may camp out on a couple of those. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory, but they all are important. So jumping right in once again, we're going to start talking about communication. So communication skills, they can be oral or written, and they allow you to express yourself effectively in the workplace. Extremely, extremely important. So some of the things that are associated and affiliated with communication are clarity. You want to be clear about what it is you're trying to communicate. And so you want to think through. That requires you to think through what it is that you're trying to say. So if you have a couple of moments to think through before you actually speak and say and verbalize your ideas or the issue that you want to try to communicate to a coworker or to your boss. You want to think through how you're going to say that. Make sure that you select your words carefully. You want to be confident. You want to know that you understand what it is that you're talking about, and you want to convey that confidence as you communicate. You want to be respectful. You want to have respect for yourself, but you want to definitely show respect for your coworker or your employer, whoever it is in the workplace that you're doing that communication with. You want to have empathy. Empathy simply is just understanding where someone else is coming from, what they may be going through. So being empathetic is a big part of communication, a big part of this soft skill. Listening, extremely important. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's so hard to do. Sometimes when you're thinking about, when they finally shut up, I'm going to say this, you're not really seeking to understand where they're coming from or what they're saying. And people can see that. So listening is extremely important. Reflective listening, you may have heard that term before. And what that means is you're just basically repeating back what you just heard them say to make sure that they know that you understand what they're talking about. Okay, so that's all a part of seeking first to understand, then to be understood. That is the soft skill of listening. Then there's verbal and nonverbal communication. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. There is written communication. This would involve emails, text messages, and in this day of social media, it is so important. And how many people do you know of that kind of got themselves into a little bit of hot water because of what they wrote? And maybe they didn't think through it at first, or they may just think that everybody's going to agree with them. And so they just put it out there, not even realizing or understanding that there are other points of view out there. And maybe the way that you said it, you used a word or two that it wasn't wise to use that word. So, I know people who have gotten jobs and promotions and advanced in their company simply based on their ability to understand written communication and making sure that they communicate well in those emails. I myself got a job. I believe it was solely based on my ability to learn how to write effectively. And let me tell you, that's a developed skill. That doesn't come along naturally because a lot of times we just want to say something. We want to say something based on our emotion. But when you take some time and you sit back and you think about what it is that you're actually trying to communicate, sometimes you can cut out a whole lot of fluff. I've erased entire emails and redone them. I've started out where I've erased 2 or 3 paragraphs of an email, and that email actually became 1 or 2 sentences. And so that ability to learn about the importance of and learn how to effectively write messages can really be a tremendously valuable skill, soft skill that can be developed, and you can transfer that and use that almost anywhere you go. In almost every form of occupation, every form of employment, there's going to be some opportunity to use those writing skills. So you definitely want to take time to develop that skill. Then there's constructive feedback. This means giving constructive feedback, depending on what your position is, and receiving it. How do you receive criticism? If it's constructive criticism, learn to take it, learn from it, adjust how you do things, make it a little bit better. It can be very, very valuable for you. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about verbal versus nonverbal communication. So that verbal communication, that includes sounds, words, speaking. Tone of voice, volume, and the pitch of your voice are also very, very important aspects of verbal communication. Sometimes you raise your voice. In many instances, people will take that as you're angry or you're trying to force your point through. Sometimes it's necessary to raise your voice a little bit because it shows how passionate you are about something. And so I'm a loud speaker, so I have to sometimes tone it down a little bit. But then there are other opportunities where it may be much more appropriate to talk a little bit softer and maybe a little bit slower in order to communicate your message. And in meeting settings, you want to maybe convey that. But those are verbal communication skills. Now let's talk a little bit about nonverbal communication skills. And I will say this, nonverbal communication is that constitutes, arguably up to 60, maybe even more percentage of all communication is nonverbal. At least that's what the communication experts will tell us. And so we're going to listen to them, and we're going to, just how you present your communication. Like if you sit there with your arms crossed and you're communicating something, you're saying something with your arms being crossed right there. That's nonverbal communication. It includes things like gestures, facial expressions like rolling your eyes or kind of raising your eyebrows. When you do these people see those things. Even in their subconscious, they have a feeling like, man, I don't know if they're listening to what I'm saying, or I don't know if they're agreeing with what I'm talking about, and maybe scowling. Sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. So the development part of this nonverbal communication soft skill is being aware of all of those nonverbal communication things that we do, and making sure that we kind of bring some control to that. Maybe practicing in a mirror or something like that. All right, we're going to jump into teamwork right now. Teamwork is another soft skill that we want to talk about. Teamwork skills allow you to operate well in a group setting, in the workplace, to quickly and effectively accomplish tasks. Obviously, all of us know that in any type of employment, there are tasks that you're going to be expected to do, and they're going to want you to be able to be productive. And so this is very important. Teamwork is a huge part of workplace soft skills. And so we talk, where I work right now, a lot about, hey, part of the team, and it's absolutely true. So what constitutes teamwork? What are some aspects of teamwork? Well, there's conflict management. When you put two people together, there's undoubtedly going to be conflict at times. You need to know how to manage that. Delegation, anything that you can delegate or anything that's going to be delegated to you, it's all a part of teamwork. Active listening, and you're going to see that listening is a part of many of these soft skills, but active listening, like you're conscientiously doing this, you're doing it intentionally, you're intentionally listening when people are talking to you. You're not just daydreaming or thinking about when they're quiet, I'm going to put my 2 cents in. You want to always be listening. That's a big part of most of, if not all of, these soft skills that we're going to be talking about. Collaboration, that's kind of like joining together to solve problems or to talk about new ideas that are going to make us more productive as a team. Cooperation, very important part of teamwork. Mediation, that's kind of like getting in there any opportunity that you have to make things better. It's kind of a form of conflict resolution, but just mediating, making sure that the two sides are heard or the different ideas are heard and understood. And negotiation, and sometimes this may involve compromise on your part, compromise on their part, but you're going to come to some sort of an agreement or an idea that you're going to work on together as a team. All right, we're going to jump into adaptability. Adaptability and flexibility are skills that address your ability to embrace and roll with change, or you've heard roll with the punches, okay? These are particularly important when working in fast-paced environments where there's a lot of productivity that's on the line and expected from you. And so adaptability, I will say this, that if you don't develop this soft skill in this day and age, you're going to have some difficulties in almost any employment. So what does that entail, and what's involved with adaptability? Well, there's self-management. There's decision making. There's being calmness, being, kind of like taking that deep breath, and instead of like overreacting to some change and kind of, letting your emotions just kind of run wild. You just kind of take that deep breath and you think, okay, I can get through this. You just tell yourself, I'm going to have to learn some new things here, but just tell yourself that and remain calm. Optimism, be positive. Just instead of like hearing a change that's coming down and automatically thinking, oh, well, that just kind of, that messes everything up. I don't know how we're going to end up doing that. And you're just seeing the negative side of things. Optimism, being positive, like, okay, well, maybe there's some things we can learn about this. Open-mindedness is a big part of adaptability. Self-confidence, a big part of adaptability. Being confident in yourself. And organization, prioritizing and organizing. All right, let's jump to the next one. We're going to talk a little bit about problem solving. Problem-solving abilities are a blend of using analytical and creative thinking to find solutions. And they involve analysis, evaluating, assessing, constantly assessing. Many jobs require us to assess and evaluate things. Even just, well, how productive are we being? What can I contribute to help us be more productive? Analyze things, come up with new ideas, come up with suggestions that might work a little bit better. Run them by your supervisors, see what they think. When you're in that team meeting, and analyze. A lot of times team meetings are analysis, so we need that soft skill of problem solving and analyzing. Logical reasoning. Be logical. Use common sense. There are a lot of things that, I'm not sure what kind of sense that makes. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay, well then find out what is logical. What does make sense? Taking initiative is very, very important. You may have heard that word a lot, but taking that initiative, not being afraid to step out and you may want to check with your supervisor, especially if you don't want to just take initiative to do something off the wall, but things that are within your job description, taking that initiative. Being persistent. Sometimes when you're searching for employment, there's a fine line sometimes between making a pest of yourself and being persistent. Making a pest of yourself sometimes can be seen as a negative thing by employers. Being persistent is often sought after by employers. So that's a good thing, being persistent with things. Not giving up, not, just and doing it in a wise way. So observation is another big part of problem solving. Persuasion, just trying to, make sure that you communicate your ideas effectively. That's where that comes in. Negotiation, once again, comes in here in problem solving. Kind of figuring things out, seeing things, a couple of different sides of things. And decision making is a very important part of problem solving. All right. So let's jump on to creativity. That's the next soft skill that we're going to be talking about here. Creativity is the type of soft skill that can help you to develop innovative solutions to problems. So in any work environment, there's always going to be conflict or problems arising, and there's going to be pressure. And we want to do this as stress-free as possible. Just knowing that there's going to be some pressure, and there's going to be you've always heard this, there's pros and cons to every job. There's perks and quirks to every job. You may have heard it in different ways, but creativity is going to help you with both those perks and quirks. So creativity involves inspiration, being inspired at work. It's nice to have some passion to do what it is that you're doing at your agency or at your institution or the employment environment that you're in. So inspiration, imagination, and always thinking, like, is there a way that we could do this better? Is there a way I could be more productive? I could do this better. Find out what your style is, what works for you. And as long as it gets the job done and it gets the job done well, you're going to impress your supervisor. They may come to you, your coworkers may come to you, hey, what are you doing? This seems to be working for you. I struggle in this area, and you may be able to teach and help. That's a soft skill that you're teaching and training someone else with once you develop that. But imagination, reframing things is a big part of creativity. Insight, just always being introspective and kind of thinking and learning and, going to the internet, finding out, hey, what are some other ways, some other ideas, gaining insight all the time and then passing that on. Innovation. Just being creative as we're starting new things. Just being innovative is a very, very important part of creativity. And experimenting is another very important. Don't be afraid to try this. Well, why not try that? It sounds good. You can always say, well, that didn't work, and then move back to what you were doing before, or find another way to do it a little bit better. And then questioning. You don't have to doubt, but just kind of question, well, are there ways that we can be more productive? Are there ways that I can be more productive and that I can contribute more? These are all going to be valuable things that your employer is going to notice this. He's going to like having, or she is going to like having creative people on board. So creativity, a soft skill that's very, very good. Work ethic. This is one that I would probably be very tempted to camp out on this one. But work ethic is a soft skill that proves your belief in the importance of work and its ability to strengthen your character. Having a good work ethic, a strong work ethic, very, very important. It's very, very noticed skill by employers. And this involves being someone of integrity. And I've tried to define integrity. What is integrity? What's that all about? And basically, integrity is doing the right thing, or doing something because you know it's the right thing to do. Not because someone's looking over your shoulder, not because someone may notice, not because, if I don't do this, I'm going to get in trouble. Integrity is just doing the right thing just simply because it's the right thing to do. And so you want to have integrity in the workplace. You want to be responsible. So responsibility is a big part of a strong, good, positive, healthy work ethic. Having self-discipline, and just any type of discipline, to know when is right, when is wrong, what's better to do, what's not so wise to do. Just having that discipline to be able to discipline yourself. Taking initiative is another big part of having a good work ethic. Taking the initiative. Make sure you're at work early or on time. That's impressive to your employer. Dependability is another big part of work ethic. Being dependable. Go at it. Don't, if you're not going to be dependable or loyal to the company that you're going for, then I would question whether or not you should be applying for that position. Know that you can be dependable. That's a big part of being responsible also, and a good work ethic. Commitment to your workplace, to your employer, to the ideas behind the organization that you're going to be working for. Make sure that you can be committed. Self-motivation is a huge part of work ethic. That kind of goes along with taking initiative, but self-motivation, and then professionalism is a huge part of the work ethic. You need to know what it means to be professional, to act professional, to conduct yourself in a professional manner. What is professional behavior? What are professional responses? When you're working with people and clients and customers, you want to always project professionalism. So that's having a good, strong work ethic. All right, the next skill we're going to talk about, soft skill, is interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are those that you use constantly. I want to stress that word constantly, because these are skills that you're always using these skills. If there's another person in the room, you're using interpersonal skills. When you're at home, when you're out at a restaurant, when you're at the grocery store, when you're at work, you're using interpersonal skills, that ability to relate to other people. And you use these as you interact and communicate with coworkers in the workplace. Interpersonal skills are very, very important. The first part of interpersonal skills is empathy. And you've heard that word before in these soft skills. Empathy is that ability to understand where somebody else is coming from. And I'm going to go a little bit further, give you a little bit of a word picture here. So you're at the grocery store and you're going through the checkout, and the cashier treats you rudely. And so you may be inclined to treat them rudely back. And how dare you? You just disrespected me. But you know what? Empathy calls you to kind of try to understand what that person may be going through. Maybe that person found out that morning that their mother or father has just been diagnosed with cancer and they had to come into work. And so maybe that's what put them in the mood that they're in. And the last place in the world that they want to be right now is working and serving you. And maybe the previous 10 people were rude to them before you got there. You know, how could you change that by being empathetic? How could you change that whole situation by being kind and showing kindness to that person who just treated you rudely? You may just totally transform their whole day. And so that's what empathy is. And when you do that in the workplace with your coworkers, that's going to be noticed by your employer. It's going to be noticed by your coworkers. It's going to completely change the whole climate, where it could possibly change a completely oppressive environment into a very, very positive environment, just by being by having those good interpersonal skills and being empathetic with your coworkers. A sense of humor, and that may be, you know, knowing what's appropriate, what's not appropriate as far as the types of joking that you do, but also big part of sense of humor is just knowing when somebody may be telling a joke or poking fun at you a little bit and being able to laugh at that and really truly laugh at it and see that. And we have a lot of that goes on in the team that I'm working with right now, and it is so appreciated, and it makes us appreciate each other a lot. That just having that sense of humor. Sensitivity is another big part. Just being sensitive, being patient with people, patient with your coworkers, showing patience. A lot of times patience is a virtue, you know, but it's a soft skill that you can develop and work on, and you can be conscious of that. Having tolerance, just being able to, not everybody's going to always agree with you or think that your idea is the best idea or your way is the best way. Just being tolerant that there are other ways. There are many other ways of doing things. And so it's not just your way. And so just being tolerant. And then positive reinforcement, you know, especially when you see something going well, giving that pat on the back, or just kind of, you know, through your team's message, you know, giving somebody one of your coworkers congratulations. So interpersonal skills, a big part of the soft skills developing that are going to really, really be important for the workplace. Let's talk a little bit about time management. Time management skills, and that is a skill, it's a soft skill, that demonstrates your ability to work effectively and productively. And time management includes things like goal setting, you know, daily goal setting, having your A, B, and C list, prioritizing your tasks for the day, making sure that by the end of the day you at least get your A list done. Those are the things that need to be done by today. Those are the important things, okay? So goal setting, prioritizing, and you'll hear that a lot. I've heard a lot of people as they're going through interviews, as I've interviewed people, as I've been involved in the hiring process, and they talk about prioritizing. It's very, very important, and it's sought after by employers, somebody who can prioritize well. Self-starting, that's taking that initiative, is a big part of time management. Planning things out, just kind of like, what are my objectives here? I know what my goals are, but what are my objectives? That's how you're going to reach your goals. You know, thinking that through. And there can be short-term goals, long-term goals. You're always going to have goals. And so that's all a part of time management, and it really helps you to accomplish things. You know, one thing I will say here too is, you know, finish something sometimes before starting the next thing. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you're going to have 8 unfinished tasks as opposed to having finished 3 or 4 of them. And so it's much better to have finished, in my opinion, to have finished 3 or 4 than to have 8 or 9 unfinished tasks at the end of the day. Then you come back in the next day and you're overwhelmed. You probably won't even be able to sleep at night because of all those unfinished tasks that you had. So that kind of a thing, big part of time, good, effective time management. Having focus and being focused. Sometimes when I find myself being distracted, I'll take a little bit of a time out. You know, maybe go take a walk, you know, and clear my head a little bit. But just being focused is a big part of time management. Stress management. I know at the place where I work right now, a lot of times they'll talk about different things you can do right in your office that can alleviate stress. Maybe some stretching activities or something that'll take your mind off of what's overwhelming you right now. You know, but a lot of different stress management activities. Find out what works for you and use that. It's a really, really great way to have effective time management. And then organization, prioritizing, organizing, managing that time. That's a big part of time management also, and that's a soft skill. We're going to talk right now about leadership. Leadership is a soft skill that enables you to guide others while you fulfill the goals and the mission of your organization. Often, positions of leadership are, they're specific, and you may be applying for a position of leadership, but you may not be applying for a position of leadership and get in there. Leadership is still an important soft skill because you're always going to be teaching, training other people by your example, by modeling. Once you learn a job, new people are going to come on. They're going to look to you for some leadership. And so there are certain types of leadership that are, you're not elected to it, you're not selected for it, you're not appointed to it. It's just something that is naturally going to go to you. So we need to have some of those. Be aware that, I need some of these leadership skills and I need to develop these. And that involves empathy. You've heard that many times. You know what that is. Selflessness. Okay? Not selfishness, selflessness. It's amazing what can happen with somebody who doesn't care who gets the credit. If you're with a part of a team, let's be glad that the team gets credit. I contributed some to that. But don't hog it all for yourself, and don't be in it because that's going to make you a little bit unattractive when you're competing all the time for that. There's a place for competition and for yourself personally and even for a team. But, just being selfless is a very, very sought after. That's noticed. An employer is going to see that he's selfless or she's selfless. And that's going to really cause them to really take a look at you for other opportunities within the company. And you may be even put in charge of things. That's how leadership develops. So selflessness can lead to leadership opportunities. Authenticity, being real about things. Versatility, having that adaptability and that flexibility, being able to roll with the punches and go with the change, go with the flow. Generosity. Oh man, that's a huge part of leadership. Being generous. You want to look generous as opposed to being stingy. And so a big part of leadership is letting other people go before you. That may take practice and may take some real intentionality on your part, being generous. Trust, developing trust. Being trustworthy is another huge part of leadership. And then the last soft skill that we want to talk about is attention to detail. This allows you to be both thorough and accurate in your work. And that involves critical observation, always, being aware, your mind always going while you're working to look for opportunities for improvement, for better productivity, for better time management as an organization, as a team, as an individual. Organization is another big part of attention to detail, being organized. Scheduling. I sometimes, just the way that I am, I'm getting a little bit older, so I have to, this scheduling becomes something where I have to find something that works for me. And I may have to schedule things on 2 or 3 different systems just to make sure that I'm not double booking, I'm not overlooking something. Scheduling is a very, very big part of attention to detail. Constant analysis, evaluating, assessing, and then recall, just remembering things. All right, so why do we need soft skills? According to Forbes, and I love this quote, listen to this, 94%, and this sounds like it's a pretty accurate percentage, and this was done based on an actual study, but according to Forbes, 94% of recruiters believe that top-notch soft skills outweigh experience when it comes to promotion and leadership positions. So if those are some of your aspirations, you want to advance, you want to be recognized for those promotions, you want to just do well at your work, and you want to get those pay raises. Maybe you'll find a job where your pay raises at the end of the year or at the beginning of the next year depend on how well you did or your performance in the previous year. So if you want those opportunities, then realize that soft skills are going to play a huge part in getting you there. Dressing the part. Knowing what's the appropriate type of dress for where you're going to work, what interview you're going to. I would say always dress one step ahead of or above whatever you think is going to be required for the job. Dress one step ahead of that when you go into that interview. You would rather be, you don't want to way overdressed, but you'd rather be a little overdressed than underdressed. That is noticed when you go in for an interview or when you present yourself for the very first time to the receptionist as you're handing in your application. So be very, very careful about that. So anyways, that concludes this workshop on soft skills. Thank you very much. Once again, I'm Jeff Bennett with Virginia Career Works, and you have a great day.